Okay, so what is so different about the PMBOK Guide 7? There are many things. So in this 1 hour, what we are going to talk about is, first of all, what is the structure of the PMBOK Guide now looking like? What was it before? What is it now? Then there is something called as performance domains versus process groups, what existed earlier. What is the difference between the two? Then there is something called as a value delivery system. Okay, some of these were not there in edition 7. Then comes the concept of principles in project management versus processes and ITTO. By the way, ITTO stands for inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. I repeat, inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. What has happened in edition 7? Then tailoring. Tailoring means customization. Okay. Now this is an important change that has been made in edition 7. We'll talk about this. Then comes the various models, methods, and artifacts. And lastly, about the exam. So hopefully we are going to cover everything that you wanted to know about edition 7 and how you must be aware of it in your career, whether you are a PMP or whether you are planning to become a PMP. I'm not worried too much about the certification, but what I want to be talking in this conversation today is, how does this make you a better project manager? The focus, and that's what our motto as an organization is. Any learning is useless if it does not change the way we think and behave. And that's the mindset that I want you to have as we go along. Certification, examination will happen. Okay, that is secondary. But what should happen is, did you become a better project manager after the certification? Why did that happen? What was in the PMBOK guide that enabled it? That is more important. Okay, so let's get into the first aspect, the structure of the PMBOK guide. So first and foremost, what are the changes that have been made between 6th and 7th edition? Okay, so here it is. So the first thing is, I'm going to zoom this a little bit so that you're able to read for some of you. Okay, all right. So here it is. The edition 6 was very, very prescriptive. For some of you who are already PMP certified, I'm sure you're able to relate to it. It said, okay, every project will start with a business case, then there's a project charter. And to build a project charter, you have certain inputs, there are certain techniques that you're going to use, and there are certain outputs. And this was the design of the PMBOK from page 1 to the last page, which was roughly about 560, 600 pages. Except the first 3 chapters, which were more like an introduction to project management. Chapter 4 all the way up to 13 was designed based on process inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. To apply what? It just said, okay, this is what you would do. If you see, the emphasis was on how and not on what or why. Why should I use something? Why or rather, what should you do? What can you drop? That kind of a guidance was missing. It just was like you walking into a library. A library has a million books. If you ask the librarian, hey, tell me what are the things that I should be knowing for my career or my student life, he would not have an answer to it. You have to figure it out yourself. So the PMBOK guide edition 6 was or is still a big library of project management. I'm not saying it is good or bad. It is just that it was a wealth of information. Now, what has happened in the edition 7? Now, the focus has shifted to a principles-based approach. Here we are talking about what are the things that you should keep in mind in terms of your mindset as a project manager. What should be your mindset when you work with a client? What should be your certain key actions that you should undertake when you work with your stakeholders within the organization, or when you're building a project schedule, or when you're thinking about risk management, or when your project is either a predictive based approach or is it an agile based approach. So here the focus is more on the principles. Does it mean that the processes are not important? That's not the case. The processes are still relevant. They help you mature as an organization, but what takes you to the next level are the principles. Okay, then comes the next aspect. Okay, the design part of it. Okay, I'm just going to zoom this a little more. Okay, there we go. So here, when we look at this, sorry, let me go. Yeah, there it is. The basis of design was more about, as I said earlier, process driven. Processes, 49 processes, inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. In edition 7, what has happened is greater emphasis is on outcomes, impact, not just, hey, there's a deliverable called project charter, there's a deliverable called project schedule, there's a deliverable called risk register. Those are important, but they are meaningless if they do not drive project outcomes. So this is another important change that has happened. Here, the focus has shifted towards outcomes or impact of what the project is all about. The second one. The third one is more or less the same. So this has not changed much. So you see that in edition 6 versus edition 7, the environment remains the same, whether it is internal or external, there is no change here. Okay. Then comes the next one, which is application. Now, this is an important part. Okay. Just going to zoom this a bit. Okay. Now, for those of you who attended our session on PMP, if you would have remembered, I would have stressed. Remember, PMBOK says most projects most of the time, which means whatever you see in the PMBOK is applicable to most projects most of the time, which means as project managers, you should have the discretion to select what works when and where. Whereas edition 7 says it takes 3 steps ahead and it says, come to edition 7, you will be able to apply whatever you find in edition 7 to any project, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is pharmaceutical or whatever it is. Whatever you find in the PMBOK guide edition 7 is applicable to all the projects. Does it mean that edition 6 was not applicable? Even that was applicable. The only thing was you had to make that choice. This is the next change that has happened in edition 7. Then comes the target audience. Now, this is now PMBOK was primarily focused on project managers, whereas edition 7 says anyone who has any touch points with projects. Okay, you can be a very junior person, you can be just a coordinator, a support kind of a role that you're performing, or you may be just a subject matter expert from finance who is providing certain inputs, maybe here and there during the project, or maybe somebody from the world of business. When I say business, sales and marketing. So the target audience for edition 7 has been expanded to cover everyone in the organization. Okay. Then comes the next aspect, which is the degree of change. Okay. So let's bring a little more focus on this. Okay. Now, up to edition 6. Okay. So there was edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I got my certification when it was edition 3. And I've seen edition 4, 5, and 6. And what I saw was the changes that were made was incremental. Here, I'm just using the same word that you find on the slide. Incremental, meaning very, very minimalistic. Okay, maybe 15 to 20% change. Whereas in edition 7, they have altered the entire structure of the project management approach itself. So which means from a process-based approach, they have taken a principle-based approach, which means they have fundamentally changed the entire look and feel of the PMBOK guide. Okay, that's a big change that has come in. Then comes the tailoring. Now, what does this tailoring mean? Tailoring means that, okay, today in this call, in this conversation, I'm sure a lot of people are from different industries, infrastructure, technology, engineering, telecom, manufacturing. Yeah. So you and all of them manage projects, but they manage differently. Now, was this not mentioned in the edition PMBOK edition 6? It was there, but it was just a paragraph, a small paragraph at the beginning of every chapter. For those of you who remember who have maybe already cleared the PMP, you will see that at the beginning of the chapter, there was tailoring considerations, just one paragraph. But here in edition 7, there is a lot more detailing provided in terms of guidance, how to go about tailoring some of the aspects of project management in line with your project. So these are some of the broad changes that have been made. So principally what has happened is that these changes are significant compared to what changes we saw from edition 1 to 6 and suddenly from 6 to 7. Okay, so a lot of changes have happened. Any questions up to this point? Any thoughts? Anyone wants to ask something? Let me switch over to the chat window. Any questions? Anyone? Please feel free to ask. That's perfectly fine.
Shrikant Bijal here.
Yes. Hello, Vijay. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you that I am now going to attend the exam again. I already had a training with you, which was exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And I have read PMP 6 2 times already and
Yes.
attended so many mock tests as per your guidance already.
Yes.
I
Yes.
will call you as well for further guidance. Do you think I should read PMBOK 7 again because there might be a revision in the exam?
Okay, so what I will do is I just park this question for now, Vijay. So there's one part where I'm going to talk exclusively on the examination part of it. So I will answer this question during that, so that we cover all the topics in a structured manner. Is that okay, Vijay?
Yeah, please. That's
Okay, I will definitely answer that question. It's part of my agenda
okay.
today.
No problem. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
Hello, Shrikant.
Yes, please.
Harsh here. Actually,
Yes.
my question is a little bit, maybe probably off the track, but I would like to ask you, like how, like PMBOK or PMP, what is the methodology? Like there are other frameworks also, like for executing projects, like uh, Scrum, Kanban, and like that. So like how PMBOK fits in, because I get like it's a project management, like, but what is the approach and how it is different than them and how it is better than them, like yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you look at the structure of the PMBOK and what PMI says, it is much broader than your Lean, Kanban, Scrum, and all of them. Okay.
Okay.
So it's very broad. So and you can probably check with who are certified as PMP as well as Scrum Masters. Some of them maybe, okay? And you can ask them that when you are a PMP, your understanding of project management is much deeper compared to maybe restricted to maybe a Kanban or a Scrum or any of that. So if you are PMP certified, you have a lot more understanding of project management, including, and by the way, let me also add one more point. Currently, examination has 50% of predictive, 50% of agile concepts. So it's the best of what you can get today. So in the today's certification that is currently on, you have 50% of the questions which are focused on Lean, Kanban, Scrum, and other approaches. And also the traditional approach, or what we call as predictive models. So PMBOK is one place where you get everything under the sun in one shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, and how it will be like if someone want to be like you, Shrikant, like who want to coach mentor in this industry, yeah, because yeah, project management, yeah.
Oh, sorry. What was the question? Can you repeat?
Yeah, actually, I'm very inspired by like coaches and mentors like you,
Oh, I see. Okay.
like
All
who
right.
coach many. Yeah, so yeah.
All right. So we'll do one thing.
So
We'll
that's
have
why
an
that was one
offline.
of the reason.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad you're
Yeah,
thinking very differently. At the end of this
yeah.
presentation, I share my email ID and my phone number as well. So we can definitely connect offline, and then we'll see what best we can do to help you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Well, let's go ahead. Let's go. If there are no more questions on this, we'll take some more as we go along. So this is the first part of the conversation today. Okay. Now let's go a little more deeper and understand some more aspects. The second one is the performance domains versus process groups. Now, what has happened in edition 6 versus edition 7? Okay. In edition 6, many of you may be aware. So there were five process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure. Now, what has happened is that we now have the concept of performance domains. So there's no specific sequence. So you start looking at projects from a stakeholder standpoint. How do we manage the teams? Development approach that we should take. Yeah. When do I take predictive, agile, and hybrid? How do we look at planning as an entire series? Then how do we deliver project work? Okay, what are the modes of delivery? Should I deliver in piecemeal? Should I deliver in one shot, big bang approach? How do we measure the performance of our outcomes? Then most important thing is, how do we deal with uncertainty? Because today's projects have a lot of higher levels of uncertainty than it used to be earlier. Does this mean that the 5 process groups on the left are no longer relevant? Answer is perfectly no. Even today, projects are initiated, they are planned, they are executed, they are monitored and controlled, and they are closed. But those are now taken for granted. Which means that if you are a project manager, or if you're somebody into project management, you should know this. But today's work calls for a different additional, I would say, expertise in terms of how you deal with stakeholders. Now, was stakeholders not there in project management edition 6? It was there. Was managing team not there? It was there. But what has happened is there is a greater emphasis on all of them. Now we had risk management, but now risk is taken to a higher level called uncertainty management. Now there was reporting, but then now it is called as project measurement metrics and maybe something more advanced. So if you see, some of them did exist in edition 6, but now they have become more important in today's world of project management. Okay, so this is the next change that has happened in edition 7 compared to edition 6. What else has changed? Let me go to the next one, the value delivery system. Now, this was something that was not there in the earlier versions of PMBOK. There may have been words spread across the PMBOK, sprinkled. Custom projects must deliver business value. But then how do we deliver this business value? How organizations deliver business value? There has to be a kind of systematic approach to delivering this. And that is where this representation becomes very important. Okay, so what this talks about is, okay, in any organization, I'm just going to do it a little bit. Okay, so you have the senior leadership team, which basically offers their strategy for running the organization. Then we talk in terms of portfolios. Then there are programs and projects, and there are operations. Now, when we talk about value delivery system, it's not just about a hierarchy of, let's say, okay, this is my senior manager, I'm a project manager, and my team, and so on. Now, here there is a close interaction on different dimensions. The top management will set their strategies 1, 3, 5 years, whatever it is. And the next set of folks, yeah, the portfolio managers, as we call them, they think in terms of the vision and product roadmap. If you're a product-based company, you are going to talk in terms of product roadmaps for the next 1, 2, 3 years. Then program managers and project managers now get into the act. They look at delivering the project and deliver the product or the service that the organization looks at. And there's a feedback loop going into operations because it needs to be sustained. And how do we ensure that the product and services that we deliver through my projects are adding value? And that's the reason why you see the cycle going back at point number D, where operations managers go back to the project and program managers and say, you know what, hey, this is what we have delivered on our products and services. Is it adding value? Then what do the program managers and project managers do? They go back to the portfolio managers and say, you know what, we are delivering against the value that you had in the vision or the roadmap that you had thought. Then what do these portfolio managers do? They go back to the top management and say, yes, we are on track to deliver the vision of the organization as per your 1 year, 2 year, 3 year strategy that you have delivered, that you have set for us. Now, this is a fundamental shift in the way project management is being presented. Earlier, project management was presented as inputs, output tools, and techniques. There are a few things that you do as a project manager: manage the team, manage the customer, and so on. Nobody talked in terms of a full-blown value delivery system. Information flowing from top management to the junior levels of organization, and then the delivery of the value going back to the top management and saying, yes, we are delivering as per your expected strategies and goals. This is a major shift that has happened in edition 7. Very, very powerful in my view. What else has changed? Then talking about, which I said about principles versus processes. Okay, so in edition 6, for some of you who are already prepared, I mean, either preparing or on the path or already prepared and certified, you will remember there are 49 processes, 5 process groups, and each of them had inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. But now what has happened is those are there, they are needed to run the project. But what is more important are the principles. Coincidentally, these principles number 12. The reason why I highlight the number 12 is that if there is somebody who is practicing agile in this group, you will remember that there are agile principles also having 12 of them. But there are some of them which there is an overlap, but there are some which have been added specifically by PMI. So you'll see stewardship. Stewardship is different from normal leadership. Stewardship is making sure that your teams really trust you. Whereas in a typical project, they just need to deliver as per the project charter, the business value, and then you move on to a different project. Stewardship is really taking that to a next step. Good. So as a project manager, do you want to be seen as a leader and then where people in the organization say, you know what, this is someone, okay, who probably is CEO material. If we give them the right coaching, probably he will move to become a great CEO. So that's a very, very different view of the role of a project manager. Then we talk about teams, stakeholders, value is anyway there. New thing that is coming, systems thinking. What do you mean by systems thinking? Looking at decisions that are taken in a project in the context of the organization, because everything is contextual for the organization. So you may take a decision, let's say on a project. Many times we don't think about how does this affect maybe the procurement team, maybe the finance team. It may not affect right now, but maybe 1 year down the line, it may have certain implications. Okay, and the next one is leadership. Now you see there is a difference. They put leadership and stewardship as two different principles. Tailoring that I talked about, quality is anyway supreme. Complexity, dealing with complexity is another principle that they have brought in. Managing risk, resilience is the next level of risk management. So risk is looking at today, whereas resilience is even if something were to happen, how strong is my organization to take on that impact? So it takes organization to a higher level of managing or ability to cope with anything that is not pleasant. Last one is in terms of dealing with changes. Now, change management was more like a process which was called as scope change control mechanism. But here, change itself is one of the key aspects of project management. So these are the 12 principles around which the PMBOK is designed compared to the 49 processes, 5 process groups, and so on. Again, those processes and process groups are still relevant, but in today's world of project management, those are like bread and butter. Those are expected. Those are what we call as hygiene factor. But today, project management is much more advanced, much more transformed, and hence these principles become that much more relevant. Then what else has changed? Tailoring. I talked about tailoring already. So tailoring was not given, I would say, much focus in edition 6. But here what has happened is there are multiple aspects of tailoring. First one is how do we want to develop the product or the service that we want to accomplish? So here we're talking about tailoring or choosing a method that is aligned with the product or service. That's the first level of tailoring. The second level of tailoring is the same product, different companies deliver it differently. So which means every organization has a culture. Okay, the way the leadership wants to review the project. So that is basically tailoring to the needs of the organization. Then comes specific to the project. There may be 5 different telecom projects, 5 different pharma projects. Not all of them are delivered exactly the same way. Okay, so that is the next level of tailoring. The last one is making sure that as an organization, we continuously improve. This was not there in edition 7 at all. sorry, edition 6, I'm sorry. So edition 7 lays a lot of emphasis on how do we tailor to the needs of the project, the organization, and of course, the approaches that we want to take, and how do we constantly improve. So it changes the way professionals are expected to think and deliver. What else has changed in the PMBOK? The next one is in terms of methods and models. So there are some of them which are still there. Okay, I'm giving you some examples, but here what has happened is there are new models that have come in. Okay, process groups existed. There are some models which are probably we may not have come across earlier. So the Seinfeld framework. Now Tuckman ladder, some of you may be aware. UDCAR is a change management model. So there, I just give you some examples. There are many more models. So which means that what PMBOK edition 7 says is that it has brought in some of the latest things that are happening in the world of global business. And again, methods. Some of them were existing earlier as well. Some of them are new. So probability impact matrix was there. Lessons learned was there. Project closer was there. Story point estimation was there. Net promoter score was not there. Similarly, there are others which have come in. Similarly, artifacts or the project related documents, those continue to be the same. And of course, there are a few changes, but otherwise not so, because these are anyway required irrespective of the nature of the project. So the idea here is that edition 7 specifically calls out models, methods, and artifacts and the way you get to implement them. What else has changed? I'm sure a lot of you are keen to look at the PMP exam. Okay, what does all this mean if one is preparing for the PMP exam or one is planning to get into a PMP exam? Okay, so first and foremost, okay, I don't know how many of you have been to the PMI website and read some of them, and you may be very busy as well. So a lot of people think that the PMP exam is based on the PMBOK guide. Okay, the answer is no. It's a reference book. The PMBOK guide is a reference book. All right. But what is the basis of the PMP exam? There is something called as ECO, also called as Exam Content Outline. The current ECO was released last year, January 2021. Now the question is, when will this change? Now we will come to know about it only when the communication from PMI happens. For now, it is still the same. The examination content outline. What does this examination content outline talk about? There are some things like, what do they call? In the ECO, as we call them, there are specific, what do you call, competencies or skills that are expected of project managers. I'll give you a simple example. Ability to manage conflicts, dealing with change, okay, scheduling. Then we talk about proactively managing risks, dealing with issues, customer satisfaction, okay. So there are what we call, all these are what are outlined in the examination content outline, okay. So remember, the reference to know what is in the exam is in this document called ECO, and it's available on the PMBOK, on the PMI website. Then what are the questions are all about? The questions are about 3 domains: people, process, and business environment. Okay, so 42% of the exam questions will be on how we manage people. When I say people, not just your teams, it can be your customers, it can be vendors, it can be your own managers, senior managers, right up to the CEO. This is about your leadership dimension of a project manager. Then comes the process part of it. What do we mean by process? Do you understand how the entire flow of work happens in a project? Okay, obviously you have to start a project with a project charter, then comes your planning and so on and so forth. Do you understand the process side of project management? Then comes the environment. So do you also understand that projects are delivered in a business environment? One organization may be struggling, they may be almost getting into bankruptcy. So for them, that project is super critical, because if they don't do well, then probably they will be out of business. So do you understand these dimensions? So there are weights or weightages. So If you look at the examination, 50% of the questions will be on process, 42 will be on people, and then 8% on business environment. Then what else? As I said, I've underlined it in red. The examination is not just about the PMBOK guide. There are a lot of other reference books, which is available again on the PMI website. And from what I remember, there are about 11, 12 books. They are not saying that these are the only books that PMI refers to. There are other books as well, but these are some of the top 10 books, if you may refer to them. Now, the question is, can you read all the 10 books? Obviously, no. And that's where we, like SRISHA Learning and Consulting kind of organizations, come in, and then we bring all the content to you and make sure life becomes that much easy. Remember, PMBOK guide is not the point of reference for the examination. You must know what is in the PMBOK guide, no doubt about it. But the question need not be restricted to only that, which means whether it was edition 6 or edition 7, the reference will still be the exam content outline. Okay. Then what is the examination format? Okay. It is, as of now, 180 questions. There are no inputs from PMI. Whether this will change, I doubt it will change. 180 questions, all of them will be scored. Okay. Then 230 minutes to complete the exam, and you have 2 breaks. So you can take 2 10-minute breaks for computer-based tests. And very rarely people do take paper-based exams, and there you don't have those kind of breaks. But otherwise, this is what the examination format is. Okay. And of course, what are the questions going to look like? It can be various types. So multiple choice questions. So previously, before 2021, to be precise, till December of 2020, you had only multiple choice questions where there was one right answer. From January 2021 onwards, you have questions which can have multiple right answers. You have match the following type of thing. And they'll also give you a graphical representation and ask you to pick something from there. And there could be a few fill up the blanks type of questions. Okay. For now, this is going to be the same. This is not changing at all. So whatever existed for the last 2 years continues. And the point that some of you may have is that, okay, when will the official examination change? Will it change based on edition 7? Currently, it is still work in progress. So PMI, I mean, from my understanding, from our interaction with PMI, I think this will happen somewhere in 2023. Okay, and even there will be a timeline that they were going to mention. But the point will be, even if it is PMBOK edition 7, the reference will still be the exam content outline. Okay, so that is the point that I wanted to bring up. Now, looking at my watch, okay, it's about, yeah, we are 9:50. We have enough time to take as many questions that you may have. Please go ahead, and you can type in the chat box whatever questions you have. And then if somebody wants to unmute, please go ahead. Just make sure that there's no background noise because it might disturb others here. Okay, so go ahead. So let's use the next 15-20 minutes for a good interaction on anything that you need to know.
Yeah, hi Shrikant. So Darshan here. So basically, based on our conversation, my understanding is that it is still not finalized whether we need to follow the PMBOK 7 or PMBOK 6. Mainly, we need to rely on PMBOK 6 only.
Yes, as of now, stick to PMBOK 6. Okay. As simple as that. Yes, Chinmay, go ahead, Chinmay.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. From when you will start the this session on edition 7?
We are waiting for a communication from PMI. So they have to roll it out because right now, as we understand, even the content is being prepared. When I say content, not the PMBOK book, I'm talking about the course material and then the Q&A. So the type of questions that, so it's, as you know, Chinmay, when any time PMI changes their examination format, it is a worldwide release. Okay, so they work with an exam provider called Pearson View. Okay, so they work with Pearson View. So the examinations are managed by Pearson View on their servers, and all the content has to get loaded on there at the same time across the world. So it is a lot of logistical planning that is involved, and all the centers across the world of Pearson View must be updated, and it takes a lot of time. So from our understanding, it will happen sometime in 2023. Exact dates are not known. Maybe somewhere middle of 2023.
You misunderstood me. I am not asking about exam or something. When SRISHA will going to start their coaching with Edition 7?
I know, I'm coming to that. So, okay, so we will do it the moment PMI releases it. So as far as we are concerned, we are almost ready with it. The only thing is, if it's going to be in 2023, why would somebody want to run the program on 2020 in 2022 itself? And that's the reason. So from our side, we are more or less there. We are ready. Only thing is we are waiting for a communication from PMI.
So definitely SRISHA will give a special attention to their earlier batch.
Of course, yes. I mean,
Thank you.
You are so very, very privileged folks.
Yes. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, SRISHA.
Yes. Yes, go ahead. Anyone would like to ask anything? And I hope we've tried to cover what are the changes. See, because what has happened is that when you go and do a Google search, there is so much of, I would say, unwanted information, misinformation out there, and it confuses, and sometimes it even makes people afraid. What's going on? Should I really bother about PMP certification? The idea of this session is to clarify what are the changes that are happening and what you should be doing right now. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have another question. So
Yes,
what
please.
will be advice to, from your side to a person who is like start up like fresh preparation? Like should they wait till 2023 or like they should start for PMBOK 6?
Okay, so how serious are you about your career? If you're very serious about your career, get your certification now.
Okay.
Hello, Srikant. This is Manoj here.
Yes, Manoj. Yes.
I have actually lots of questions, but start from like this PMBOK 7 means, as Darshan said, I am going to be I'm a fresher in this field, right?
It's okay.
So,
Go ahead.
So the thing is, I have to go with this PMBOK 7. Wait for that means next exam is going to be based on 7 or 6. But as you told, like it is not a reference book. But obviously, some of the questions are definitely going to come from PMBOK 7, right?
Okay. Currently, the examination. Okay, as I said, the examination is based on the exam content outline. And this content outline was drafted in 2021 when edition 7 was not in place.
Okay. So is this available in PMI site, right?
Sorry?
Is this available on PMI site?
What is available on PMI site?
This ECO?
Yes, it is available on the PMI website. Yes, you are right. The ECO is on the PMI's website, yes. So presently, because we are very closely working with PMI, so they are still in the process of building the content, and then they have to build a question bank for to be uploaded. So as there's a lot of logistics involved, technology, logistics, there are a lot of these folks that are needed to be aligned and all of them. So, and being a very big organization, it takes time. And this is the way the change happened even last time. Okay. So when the examination format changed from January 2021, yeah, the information was shared almost like 1 year in advance. So that so they had almost 1 year time when this change in the examination happened. So, and that is normally what is PMI's approach. because it takes a lot of time. That's the reason. So if you're serious, I'm going to repeat what I told for Darshan. So if you want to upskill yourself and move up in your career, yeah, don't wait for 2023 because you do not know the exact date when that will happen. But sooner the better. Yeah, that's what I would say.
When next exam is going to be?
Oh, okay. So examinations happen almost every day except Sundays. Okay. So it is available. There are two slots, 9 to 1 and 2 to 6. Okay. So there are slots at these examination centers. They are available Monday to Saturday, I presume. And then depending on the city that you are in, if you are in Ahmedabad, of course, it is definitely there. I think the center is somewhere in Prahlad Nagar.
Okay. Is this proctored exam?
Oh, no, proctored is an option that you have. Proctored is at your home. So you can take the examination from your home. Obviously, with a lot more stringent, I would say, security around the examination. But if you go to a testing center, then you don't have to worry about it. So it's a lot more peaceful than you're doing at home because sometimes you also need to have a good internet speed. So if there is a sudden outage at home, if the network drops, then there is a problem.
Okay, nice. Okay.
All right. So my advice is, if you're serious about project management certification, do not delay it beyond.
Look, for an average person, how much days? Like it's like 500 pages of PMBOK, and you are saying about ECO, right?
Yeah.
So generally, how many days it required to study from scratch to end?
Okay. Perfect. So good question. So there are people who have cleared it in 1 month. Okay. Now I'm not going to use that as a benchmark. Okay. So on an average, we've seen people clearing it in about 2 to 3 months. Okay. Assuming you also have your day job. So you have to go to your work and then you have to get back home and then start preparing. So that's the reason why we are looking at about 2 to 3 months is more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah, Srikant, I have one question. Like, I have also posted in chat. Like, I have 10
I
years
was
of
looking at your
experience in
question
IT.
itself. So you have 10-year experience in IT, but not into project management. Can I appear for the examination? I am a team lead, work closely with managers. Yeah, you are eligible for it. So the only eligibility is that you may not have been a project manager or whatever it is, but have you worked on projects?
Okay. Yes, I have worked on projects.
Perfect. So if you have worked on projects and depending on your education background, so since this was not the agenda of this conversation, but since you've asked this question, I'm also going to say this. So are you an engineer, Harsh? BE?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So if you're a BE, when I say BE as a reference, so anyone with a 16 years of education, so 10 plus 2 plus 4 or 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, somebody would have done BSc and then done MSc or MCA kind of thing. Anyone with 16 years of formal education, you need to have 36 months of project management experience. 36 months in the last 8 years. So today, let's say if you're planning to take the examination in 2022, so you can go all the way up to 2014. Pick up any of the projects that will add up to 36 months, then you become eligible. That's perfect, as simple as that.
So, current my 10-year experience.
I have one question.
Sorry, go ahead, Harsh.
Yeah, so like 36 months is required, not specific to project management, but getting involved in project, right?
Yes.
Like that. Okay.
Correct. So because not everyone will start off as a project manager. Somebody would have started as let's say, a team member doing only execution. Then a little bit of execution and planning. Then you become a team lead or a module lead or whatever it is. And then all that is fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Anyone else?
Yes, Shrikant, one question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so is there any time period that after completing the training you have to give the exam within a certain time period or like that?
No, there's no such time as far as the training is concerned. But yes, once you fill the application and your application is approved, you have 1 year by which you can, by when you should complete the exam. Otherwise, you have to do the application form filling all over again.
Okay.
So for the training, after the training, there is no limitation. But If you fill the application form and once PMI approves it, you have from the date of approval 1 year to finish the exam.
Shrikant, like you mentioned, there are 180 questions and 230 minutes to complete the exam. What is the scoring criteria and is there any achiever section, negative marking, anything?
Okay, so as of now, don't give such ideas to PMI. No negative marking for now. All right. So, of course, another thing is PMI does not reveal what is the passing score. So, there is no information on PMI, and this is done deliberately. Okay. So, from what we know, okay, because we've been doing this for the last 10 years. So, from what we know, previously it used to have, okay. So, till about, I think, 4 or 5 years back, yeah. So the passing score was 161 point something percent. Okay. And we presume it's more or less the same. So plus or minus maybe 3-4%. So let's keep it as 65%. This is just as a reference point. Don't quote me anywhere. So we think it is about 65% as the passing score. Yes, so Deepali says, I have 6 years of experience in software development, working as a senior developer. Okay. Yes, you can appear for the PMP exam. Yes, Deepali, perfect. Because with 6 years, we are talking about 36 months or 3 years. And assuming you worked on software development projects, you become eligible and you also are a BE computer science, perfectly eligible.
Shrikant, earlier there was a criteria of 35 PDUs or something. So how to get those PDUs?
Okay, so we do conduct those. I'm glad you're asking that question. So we do conduct these workshops. Okay, and by the way, small correction. It's not PDUs. It's called contact hours. Okay, there's a minor difference. Okay, once you become a PMP, then you are supposed to accumulate PDUs to retain your certification. Then it is called as professional development unit. For the purpose of the eligibility of the exam, you have to attend a course, which is what we do. We do it as a 5-day program spread across 2 weekends. In fact, Puri will probably talk a little bit about it. So we have a next program that is also coming up in 2 weeks' time. So the exact dates Puri will mention. Can you go ahead and share some details, Puri, about this?
Yeah, so our next program date is starting on 15th of October, and we are doing this for 5 days. So please note down these dates. It's on 15th and 16th October, which is Saturday, Sunday. And then week after that, which will be 21, 22, 23 October, which will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
Yeah, so
this 5 days we are conducting.
Yeah. So we are the only ones who do it as a 5-day program. All others do it as a combination of 3 days and give some online thing, go read yourself. So, and it is also from 9 to 6:30. You can actually ask Falak. By the way, Falak and Chintan, and of course, Bijal, these are people who already attended our workshops. So some of these days, these workshops have gone while we start at 9 o'clock. We officially close at 6:30, but sometimes it has gone up to maybe 6:45, 7 o'clock, because we get into some intense conversations. So we don't compromise on that. So we deliver it like almost like 45 hours of program, where PMI mandates only 35 hours. But I do it.
One question from my side.
Yes, please go ahead.
I have total 14 years of experience with 3 good companies. So I'm right now technical lead and would like to go for project management. Still not given the examination. I had attended the last session.
Okay, wonderful. What's the question, Daivat?
Yeah, so I am asking that will it be fruitful to me for my career? That's what my question is.
Of course, yes. I mean, I have not. Okay, so when you say fruitful for your career, so it does 2 things, or I would say multiple things. Okay, first and foremost, the certification is a big, I would say, accomplishment. Okay, just 2 days back, I had one of my participants. You know, there's this company in Ahmedabad called Mobiquity. Okay, of SG Highway. Yeah, so
yeah,
we did a program exclusively for them just about 3 months back, to be precise, in June, July. So that was the time when we did this program. And then Few days back, there was a gentleman who kind of mentioned that I am now certified. And you won't believe what it does. One, it's an amazing thing to accomplish. So it does a wonder of good to your resume. That's number one. Second one is it boosts your confidence like no other certification. Personally, I've done so many things in my career, but nothing came close to my PMP certification. You can ask Falak, who is on this call. You can ask Chintan, who is also on this call, who are already PMP certified. And the feeling is very, very different. The third one is people in your organization will start looking at you very seriously, very, very differently. Your credibility in the organization increases by multiple notches. The last thing is people will come, organization will give you much better work for sure.
Okay. Got the point.
Yes. All right. Go ahead, please.
Actually, actually, I am CSM is the certified Scrum Master. But in those courses, they are literally avoiding the word project manager, right? Literally, they are avoiding that word. Means even they ask this question in their examination also. So is this like, and even in many big companies, like they are hiring Scrum Masters and product owners.
Yes.
So what is difference between project manager and product owner? You can say Scrum Master means, is this these roles are going to replace this project manager, or means how the means actually somewhere I am getting confused. Like some people
good
they are
question.
guiding.
It's a valid question, Manoj. It's a very valid question. I'm sure some of the others on this call would also have a similar question. Okay. Now, when you look at the roles, forget about the roles for a minute. Okay. In today's world, there are different types of projects that are being undertaken. All right. So when we look at types of projects, one is in the industry and the domain that we're talking about. The second one is how critical it is to the organization. Second one is, does it impact lives? And how soon should we launch this product or service in the market, which is time to market? And what is this product all about? Now, based on these, the approach that we take to run projects are very, very different. Now, Scrum, as you pointed out, is also project management, but we call it as lightweight project management. The reason why we call lightweight is that it is not process heavy. The focus is to make sure that we deliver the product or the service as quickly as possible, because the customer in many cases is not clear of the outcomes. And if the customer is not clear, obviously the team that is delivering the project may also lack the same thing. And that's the reason why what they say is, rather than wait for 6 months to see what the product is going to look like, they say, show me in pieces. We call them as iterations. Scrum calls them as sprints. Don't show me what the product looks like after 3 months. Show me how it looks in shorter time frames. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, maximum 6 weeks. But the principles remain the same. There is planning, there is execution, there is monitoring and control, there is closure and acceptance by the customer, which is also there in your normal project management. Now, what is difference? Yes, the role titles are very different. In the world of Scrum, they use some very, very informal names. They call it a Scrum Master. You have a product owner. Now, how does this connect with the role of a project manager? So the typical project manager's role, is a little bit split between these two roles called product owner and Scrum Master in the world of Scrum. Scrum Master is an internal focused role, which means his focus area is to ensure that his team is successful. Product owner's role is externally focused. He is more focused on what the customer wants. What are the trends in the industry? What are the customer preferences changing in the next 2-3 years? Are there technological advancements? So that is what the product owner, his focus should be. So when he gives the requirements to the team, he needs to make sure that these requirements, what we call as the product backlog, add value to the organization. Whereas the Scrum Master and the team together must ensure that we deliver what the product owner wants. So that's the fundamental difference. But principles of project management are the same. There is estimation, there are timelines, there are resources, resource allocation is there, risks are there, issues are there, procurement is involved. In some cases, it is there even in Scrum as well. Money is involved in both the cases. Stakeholders are involved. What is so different? All these are relevant in both the types of projects. And that's the reason why PMBOK Edition 6 has 50% weightages for traditional projects, 50% weightage for agile or Scrum based projects. I hope I answered your question, Manoj.
Yeah.
So bottom line, what I have seen is that somebody who is a PMP can handle more complex projects than somebody who is just a Scrum Master. Because a Scrum Master is only looking at a smaller aspect of a project, which is 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks kind of a window that he is looking at. There, the skills of planning are not really tested. Imagine if you're working on an infrastructure project, which is like 10 crores, 50 crores, 100 crores. You ask someone like Falak, who works on infrastructure project, which run into thousands of crores. The rigor required in planning is far greater than a Scrum project, which is to create a mobile app or a social media app.
Right.
Because nobody does know. So the seriousness is far higher, far more compared to what you find in social media or small app development projects.
Right. Got it. Yeah.
All right. So we have a couple of minutes left. So what we will also do is, even if there are questions, yeah, you can always reach out to us. Okay. So here are our contacts: shrikant.pv@srisha.co.in, and my mobile number is there. Anyone wants to talk to me, that's perfectly fine. And remember, I think Pubi just now mentioned about the upcoming program. Make the most of it, because you never know when the examination format is going to undergo a change with edition 7 coming in. So generally, the transition takes a little bit of an effort. So my advice to people is, if you're serious about certification, if you're serious about your career, get the certification now. And no better time than October, because if you take this workshop in October, you can plan and get your certification by end of December. You'll all be done. So you can start 2023 with a bang.
Okay, Shrikant, hello Shrikant.
Yes, please.
You gave very good example of like the question asked by previous like one of the person, like the planning for IT projects, like small mobile apps and web apps, and compared to infrastructure projects which are of multi crores. Like I totally agree with you. But can like I understand, like in my career of 10 years, mostly I have also worked with small to medium size like of this project. But I would also like to know a case like in IT, like if you have heard of or you have encountered like some very complicated projects like for banking. Will this be very applicable, or will this be very suitable as compared to Scrum or Kanban, like you said? Like
yes,
just
yes,
one
you are
example.
right. So today, good question. Today, the world is not just predictable versus agile. Today, you see more of hybrid projects. What do I mean by hybrid? There are certain elements of the project which are purely agile or Scrum.
Correct.
But there are certain components where you have no choice. For example, let's say you talked about banking and financial services. Now, there are certain things in the world of finance and banking, especially on compliance. Yeah, you cannot change that. You cannot say, you know what, I will do this feature, we will see whether it will work. And then if there is a complaint from the customer or the RBI or the SEBI, then we will fix the problem. That is not going to work. So there are certain aspects where you will take a completely predictive approach. But there are certain things which are more to do with UI and UX, user interface and user experience part of it, where I will take an agile approach. So today, what we see in the world of project management is mostly towards hybrid projects, which is a mix of both predictive as well as agile. So we are living in a world of best of both. And it is not just about banking, it is true of even government projects as well. There are certain government projects where there is an interface with technology. So as long as technology is not severe or critical, like bringing the server down, you create a small code and it brings the entire network crashing down. That will be predictive. Anything which is more like not going to impact the business, revenue, customer satisfaction, those will be run through a predictive approach. So it's a mix is what we are going to see. You will hear more of the word hybrid, hybrid, hybrid.
Thank you.
All right. I think we are on the top of the hour. So we're planned for 10:15 and we are right there. So what I would like to do is thank you seriously, because it's not easy on a weekday, that too at 9 o'clock at night, India time, going on till 10:15 and having some real serious conversation. Really thank you for your time, and then all the great questions that came in. So we look forward to extending this conversation a little more. So feel free to reach out to us. And if you're really serious of getting the certification, get it done sooner than later. And you have the email IDs and the phone numbers of Purvi as well as myself. If you need anything specifically on the certification, feel free to send me a message. The same number is on WhatsApp as well. Only thing is just introduce yourself when you send me a message, and based on my availability, I'll make sure I'll call you back. Okay. And I look forward to interacting with you all soon. Have a wonderful evening, and most importantly, enjoy the Dasara time, the real good time of celebration and goodness around us. Yeah. Have a great time with your loved ones. Yeah. And enjoy your all the music and the dance that goes with the way Gujaratis celebrate Dasara.
Thank you, Shrikant. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time and valuable
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Shrikant. Thank you, Purvi.
Thank you.
Shrikant.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you for coming even in the Navratri time. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shrikant, and
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you.